Eggs. Who would have thought that these little brown, white, or blue, depending on what kind you get, orbs would be worth their weight in gold? And we're led to believe that the price of eggs has gone up substantially because of factors that are outside of our control, because of the bird flu. But when I learned what I'm about to share with you in this video, it made my blood boil, because the fact of the matter is, we are being played like a fiddle. And before you get on the defensive and attack me, this is not a video that's trying to disprove the bird flu or to say that it's some sort of conspiracy or anything like that. This is looking at the raw, hard data that is going to prove that all of this price increases on these little orbs, these little brown, white, and blue golden eggs, it's all fake, it's all fabricated, and it's all by design. So when all this bird flu stuff started in 2023, you would think that the profits and the income for these large egg producers would decrease significantly, because supposedly they were culling birds and there were fewer eggs. But somehow, according to the data, it paints a much different picture. And how is that possible? That's what we're going to dive into. And we're going to look at Cal-Maine's financial data for 2023. And Cal-Maine, by the way, is the largest egg producer in the country, in the United States. They control 25% of the egg industry. And we're able to dig into their financial data because they're a publicly traded company, which means they have to share all that information. All right, so according to their financial data, their net cash provided by operating activities was $863 million for 2023. It's quite a bit of money, but compare that to $126.2 million the year prior. So how is it that they were able to increase their net cash by over $700 million in a time where there's supposed to be egg shortages, in a time where they're supposed to be culling chickens? How is that possible? Because if you think about it that way, they have everything working against them. They have fewer eggs, they have fewer chickens, and there's probably fewer people buying the eggs because the price is increasing because of the shortage, supply and demand. But that's where something crazy and something very nefarious is going on. So let's look at the working capital, because this paints an entirely different picture also. Their working capital on June 3rd, 2023 was $942.2 million. Compare that to $476.8 million May 28th, 2022, the year prior. So their working capital, that means all their assets that they have, all the things that they bought to basically run their operations, increased by almost twice the amount, by 2 times essentially. So how is it that they're able to increase their net cash and their working capital by that amount, by that substantial amount, at a time again where they have everything working against them? It kind of makes you wonder if some of this is possibly planned. Maybe they're ramping up their working capital, they're gaining more assets so that they can keep up with the supply, so that they can produce more eggs in a time where there's supposed to be a shortage. Things don't really add up. And if we go down and we look at the cash flow, they paid out $252.3 million to their shareholders in the year of 2023. And without additional context, that doesn't really ring any alarm bells. That just means that, okay, they're paying out quite a bit of money. But in 2022, they paid out $6.1 million to their shareholders, which means that the amount of money that they paid out to their shareholders between 2022 and 2023, again, a time where they had everything working against them, when they were supposed to be culling chickens, and there was supposed to be an egg shortage that caused the price of everything to increase because of the egg shortage and the bird flu. The dividends they paid out to their shareholders increased 40 times. 40 times to the people at the top, the people that are probably causing all this to happen. Are you starting to see a trend here? And to further drive this point home, as of June 3rd, 2023, their cash increased $233.7 million since May 28th, 2022, compared to a typical increase of $1.7 million. If that doesn't tell the whole story, I don't know what will. And the fact that we still trust these large food industries, and especially the ones that are publicly traded, these ones that are owned by private investors, because the fact of the matter is, most of our food supply, 90-some% of our food supply, are publicly traded companies. They are part of this industrial food complex. They're owned by shareholders. And what do the shareholders care about? They care about the bottom dollar. It's why we wound up with all this hyper-processed junk food that is absolutely horrible for us. It's how we wound up with all these cheap ingredients, the ones that are wrecking everyone's health. It's how we wind up with this kind of stuff, which is basically price fixing, so that they can fabricate a story and make you believe that something is true when it's actually not, just so that they can increase the price and increase their profits so that they can make the people at the top richer, the corporations richer, the shareholders, and everyone but us that's benefiting from this stuff richer. And who suffers? It's the consumer. It's us every single time. We suffer in terms of health. We suffer in terms of money. And they do not care. They do not care about us at all. We are nothing more than a means for them to get rich. That's all this is about. It's a money grab. The bird flu, was it real? Probably so. Was it conflated? Probably so. Was it pushed out in the media? And was there a large narrative that was being fed to us so that they could do this, so that they could increase the prices by falsifying the information, falsifying the data, and falsifying the truth so that they could get rich? 100% yes. That's exactly what's happening here. And we see that not only with the egg industry, we see it with the meat industry and so many other industries as well, because again, they don't care about us, they care about the bottom dollar. And if we go online, we go to Yahoo Finance, we look at their stock price, we'll see that their stock price through 2024 into 2025 has increased substantially, and it is currently up. Oh, let's see here. How far are we up now? How far are we getting hosed here? It is currently up 342%. The profits are up 342% in quarter 2 of 2025. At the time of recording this video, as a matter of fact. So how is it that they have an egg shortage and the price of eggs has doubled and in some cases almost tripled because of all of the culling of the chickens and the egg shortage, yet their profits are up 342%? It doesn't seem like that should really be the case, but if we dig deeper, we start to see more of this story. So let's look at this graph here. The amount of eggs sold by Cal-Maine from fiscal year 2021 all the way up through fiscal year 2024 has not really decreased at all. As a matter of fact, from 2021 to 2023 and 2024, it's increased quite a bit. And if you look at the gross profit, where there is no egg shortage, apparently, according to this graph, the profit has also increased substantially. So what does that tell us? It tells us the opposite is true of what we are being told. Let's look at another graph here. All right, so let's look at this graph. This is the US egg production and retail prices. So if we look at the egg production, we will see that it's been pretty consistent up and down from January 2020 all the way through July 2024. It's decreased a little bit, but overall it's remained pretty consistent. But when we look at the average price per dozen, we also see that the price increased, again, substantially in January 2023, when supposedly the avian flu was becoming a very big thing, and they were culling all these chickens and there was an egg shortage. According to this, there was a small dip there. But as you can see, the line is clearly indicating that the average price per dozen was gradually increasing for a very long time before even that small dip, but the egg production has remained pretty darn consistent. And it dipped back down after January 2023, but here we are. The price has continued to increase while egg production hasn't really dropped down really any at all. It's remained very consistent. Let's look at another graph that's going to also help really illustrate how bad we are being screwed. So the change in retail prices per dozen eggs over the last 5 years, that's the dark blue line. You can see from January 2022 to December 2024. Again, there was a very large spike in the price of eggs around January of 2023. And then again, after, July 2024, it starts climbing again. But the change in retail egg inventory over the last 5 years, as you can see, has remained very consistent. It does not follow the trajectory of the change in price. It doesn't follow the trajectory of the change in profits. It is quite literally the inverse of that. And the only thing that can point to is the fact that this is all 100% by design. This is a coordinated attack on our food supply. This is actually engineered and designed to siphon as much money out of the consumer as they possibly can. And there's something else that some people aren't talking about that actually falls in line with this. This is also around the same time that all these health experts and the scientists and the scientific food community and all these people came out and finally said that eggs are a superfood. They're very healthy. What do they do with every single health food that's out there, every single one that we have access to? They jack the price up so that we no longer have access to it. Or at the very least, they price us out of it. They price the majority of people out of it, because instead of people paying $6 a carton for eggs, where they were paying like $1.20, they're going to go buy something cheaper. They're not going to buy a carton of eggs for $6 when they can go buy a couple boxes of cereal for the same price. It just doesn't make sense to some people. This is how they keep us trapped in this industrial food complex and stuck and addicted and reliant on all these junk foods, these foods that are destroying the health of most of the people in this country. And if this doesn't highlight that more than anything else, I don't know what will. So if you still trust these people and you put all your trust in the industrial food complex, thinking that they have our best interest in mind and that the food that they're supplying is healthy and it's all the things that they say it is, you might need to wake up, because they do not have our best interest in mind. This is not about health. All the things that they're telling us is healthy and all the foods they say eat, they are lying to us. It is the exact opposite of that. And I think we're finally waking up to that fact. We're finally starting to see through the lies and realize that our health is destroyed. People are overweight and obese, and the rates of chronic disease have skyrocketed because of this food, because of the lies that we're told. And it's just by chance that this kind of information is out there that we can see. But we have to make sure we share this information. We pass this on to other people that might benefit from it, because if we know this stuff and we don't make a change and we don't do anything to make a difference, we don't pass on the information, we don't share the knowledge, we just go along with it, we follow the narrative just like everybody else, just like all the other sheep out there, we follow the narrative, then nothing's ever going to change. And the way we dig ourselves out of these holes, especially a hole like this, is we get back to the basics. We get back to what is natural, and that means going after local family-owned farms and businesses, not being as reliant on the industrial food complex, the food system that does not have our best interest in mind. We have to get away from that. That's why it's extremely important that we support our local farmers, our local ranchers, our local businesses. Because fact of the matter is, businesses like this that have this crazy amount of profit and that are making this much money, they have the clout, they have the capital to snuff out all these small family-owned farms. And what happens then? We are completely reliant on an industry just like this. We're reliant on this industry. And what does that mean? It means that every single time they want to pull a stunt like this and they want to fix the prices and fabricate a story so that they can siphon more money out of us, that's exactly what's going to happen. And we're going to have nowhere else to turn. We're going to be totally reliant on these industries. We're going to either have to pay the price that they're asking for the food that we want, or we're going to have to revert back to the junk food, to the stuff that's destroying our health. And those two options aren't very good. So without that third option, without the option of going to your local family-owned farms and businesses, we are quite literally completely screwed. But instead of being discouraged and feeling like there's nothing you can do, realize that this is an opportunity. The fact that we have this information at our fingertips and we know what to do to fix it means that we can fix it. And it all starts with us. It starts with us sharing this knowledge, sharing this information, choosing to not support these industries, not participate in these industries that don't have our best interests in mind. Now, I'm doing my best to play my part and try to make a difference as much as I possibly can. And one of the ways that I'm doing that is I created a farm map, and there are over 7,200 local farms, local butcher shops, and other resources to help us become more nutritionally dependent so that we don't have to rely as much on these large mega corporations, these terrible industries. And you can do your part by using that free resource to locate local farms and local businesses in your area so that you can source your food from them as often as possible. Something as small as that, a small simple change, as simple as that, can create enough of an impact to make a difference. I'm going to put a link to that in the pinned comment in the description below. Be sure to go down there and use that so that you too can help shift the tides and create meaningful, positive, and lasting change.